Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Showdown battle video. Today's battle is a PU match that I had the other day, which has a really cool and fun ending to it, which is one of the main reasons why I wanted to upload this battle. But my opponent is using, pretty much as you can tell, a Hail team of some kind, right? He's got four Ice types, and he has Ariados there to probably set up hazards, and just Gastrodon to kind of round off things a little bit, I guess. But the team that I'm using is by no means like that good. I just kind of threw a bunch of mons together because I wanted to try out PU a little bit more. And based on what he has, I decided that probably the best course of action would be to go ahead and lead off with my Frogadier just because it is Scarfed. Frogadier is pretty cool just because it's one of like the NFE Pokemon that I think is like interesting as opposed to just being like a generic like wall Eviolite thing, because Frogadier actually can be run offensively. Still gets Protean, which is really cool, so it allows you to do a lot of damage, and it's also pretty quick. And it outspeeds Primeape, which is really important in the PU tier. But my opponent leads off with Ariados, sets up some hazards, Toxics me. Also find out that it has Toxic in combination with Toxic Spikes. And also, if you notice that Dark Pulse did like 0 damage, it's because this is apparently a specially defensive Ariados, which is pretty cool. I've never really seen that before. I'm curious as to the reasoning why specially defensive as opposed to like physically defensive or like offensive with just Sash or something like that. But my Mudsdale is able to switch in pretty easily, set up Stealth Rock, and KO the Ariados while taking some minimum damage in the process. As you saw right there, this is actually a Rocky Helmet Mudsdale. It has Stealth Rock, Rocky Helmet as its item, Earthquake, Toxic, and Rest. And the reason why that works really well is because I have Audino, which has Heal Bell, so I can actually heal off its sleep status pretty easily if I'm able to switch into it, especially because Audino is more of a special wall, whereas Mudsdale is more of a physical wall. But my opponent brings in Regice and sets up Hail, and this is where the Hail fun starts to begin. So it brings in Beartic right away. I just go for the knockoff because I really don't have a better offensive option. A lot of the stuff on his team, if you just like spam Ice, it's actually a really good strategy because there's not a ton of things that resist Ice. And obviously having Beartic out here with the Slush Rush ability is going to be able to pretty much deal with my team fairly easily unless I find a solid way to take it out. But the Weezing that I actually bring in right here is actually not a defensive Weezing, which is probably why that killed so easily. Obviously he was at +2 as well, but it's actually a Specs Weezing, which I find to be really fun to use. But I just sack it because I know that I can easily bring in Girder. I just go for the Mach Punch, but Beartic is really bulky and is able to actually live that, which is really cool. Goes to the Play Rough, does a really solid bit of damage. And obviously this is going to bring me down to a range where I can either Mach Punch and kill him, or he could switch out, but he would die upon switching anyway. There really wasn't a good option for him in that situation regardless, but I'm just going to die to the Hail and the Poison. But at least I got rid of the Beartic, so that's good. Granted, I didn't want to lose Girder because obviously he has 4 Ice types on his team, but I figured it kind of just worked out, at least just to get rid of the immediate threat that I was currently facing. So, going to Frogadier, he goes into Regice. Always a good idea to go into your Scarfer whenever a Pokemon dies because you can get some type of advantage because you know you're going to outspeed. Just go for a U-turn. Does a good bit of damage, honestly, because again, Protean allows you to get that bug typing to, hit things a little bit harder. He just blows up, which I thought was really interesting, but I guess that works a lot on this particular team because of the fact that if you're running Hail, you can set up the Hail and then just blow up, and then you bring in something for free to take advantage of it, which is a really good option. It also does a huge amount of damage to whatever switches in. As you can see, it did 50% to my Audino there. But I'm going to go ahead and switch out as he brings in Gastrodon. Go to Mudsdale, basically just to sack it. There's really no better play I have right here, because what I'm basically trying to do is get a free switch into my Alolan Exeggutor. And this is a really cool set. I'm using a Trick Room one. This is pretty common, at least, but I'm using it with Dragonium Z and Draco Meteor, which I think is really fun. Astron does have the Ice Beam, unfortunately, so that's going to do a lot of damage, but thankfully, I have the Giga Drain, which is going to help me at least get a good chunk of health back, so I'm actually going to be able to live the next turn of Poison, which is good. But Trick Room's up, which is actually beneficial for my team as well, because I don't have a ton of fast things outside of Frogadier, so this actually supports my team pretty well. But I'm just going to go ahead and go for the Z move for Devastating Drake. It's going to not actually take out the Aurorus. This might be... Actually, I found out that it wasn't a Sulfest, but that's just Aurorus' special bulk, which is pretty cool. And that allows me to at least just bring in Audino here. It's at a low enough range of health. Audino's slower than Aurorus, so I'm actually going to be able to KO it with Knockoff, which is interesting because how often do you actually see Audino KO something with an attacking move? But all he has left now at this point is his... Articuno. And so I basically can just knock off here, but I miss, and my opponent has the Snow Cloak ability. So this is really funny, and you're gonna see how cool this is. I actually was not mad at all because a lot of people will think like evasion is like stupid and stuff like that, but I think it's actually really interesting, especially if you're running a hail team in PU and you're using Articuno, which is like dying to stealth rock upon entry regardless. So I'm okay with this, but I missed a second knockoff, and I'm gonna go down to the poison right there. So all I have left is Frogadier. I'm going to be faster than Articuno because Frogadier is just faster than it. I'm going to go for Dark Pulse because if I can get a flinch, that's really good, but I missed my Dark Pulse. My opponent is locked in on Hurricane. I think it might be Specs or something, because otherwise I think they would have went for the Freeze Dry, right? Misses their Hurricane. Go for another Dark Pulse. Miss the other Dark Pulse. My opponent goes for Hurricane. Misses another Hurricane. And so I'm basically just hoping at this point that eventually I'll be able to KO it. Or one of us will hit, because I'm probably going to go down to a Hurricane. But I hit a Dark Pulse finally, and I get a flinch. And then on the following turn, as you can see, that only did 25%, and he's at 26%. I'm going to finally hit a second Dark Pulse, and I'm going to get a crit, which is going to take out my opponent. And I just thought this was the funniest ending to a battle that I've had in a very long time. So I really wanted to upload this. This team is really cool, but I don't think it's that good for PU. I still just don't understand this tier at all. I feel like I've said, I posted this on Twitter the other day, it's like a bunch of random with a bunch of like Primeape and Mesprit and Ferroseed just mixed into the bunch. Like, I can see literally any kind of team in this tier, and it makes it very difficult to team build because it's like one team might work really well, and then you fight against another opponent that uses just like Pokemon that aren't like the top tier of the tier, and then you just completely lose because like you don't have anything to handle it, which is good in the sense of variety, but it also just makes like team building and consistency, I feel like, very difficult, which is frustrating for me in particular, but I will work on it. But anyways, everybody, that is it for this video. Thank you all for watching my PU battle, and as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.